Ladies and gentlemen, this is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa. We have our YouTube channel here. Please subscribe and like if you find value in our work. Also, we do have the Facebook group in which we are going to be releasing case studies and exclusive material. So please join the Facebook group at The Real Javier Novoa. My friends, today I wanted to go into one of the very practical steps, and in fact, the keystone of the practical steps of our course, and that is mental rehearsal. We're going to start going hands-on, hands in the clay, completely practical now, because I think that we've covered the philosophical basis of the course, and now we want to get right to the nitty-gritty, as they say. So today, I wanted to just go briefly into the importance of imagination or focus, because the word imagination perhaps has a limited connotation in the modern vocabulary as something that we simply envision, and that is indeed an important part of imagination. But the imagination that the spiritual authors which we base the information of our channel on is much deeper and much broader than that, because it includes auditory, it can include self-talk and speech, it can include images, actual images, colors, and so forth. But the point of all of it is to attain a feeling or a state, and that's what we call state. So I just wanted to go into a bit more of what that is. And we can tie it into the level on our chart of levels of being as context, and we're going to keep emphasizing this more in this channel because I think that I touched upon a very important spiritual category here when I talked about context, because context is the sense or the feeling of yourself in relation to other elements after the personality arises, because first comes spirit, then comes personality, and the personality then senses itself in relation with the whole network of people, places, and things, but it is not physical. It is an actual sense. It is an inner knowing or an inner positioning of yourself in relation to other factors. And this is where imagination and focus comes into its own. And once we learn to use that, we'll learn how to mentally rehearse so that we can become that which we want to be, and we can take on the state of that which we desire. So, state, for example, is, let us say, your goal is to build a company. Well, you can imagine many factors of that. And as we'll go into more detail in the future, the more factors that you try to imagine, you'll simply get your mind, you'll dissipate your focus, and you'll confuse yourself, and you could emotionally overwhelm yourself, thus making the intention or the goal harder to achieve. So what many spiritual authors recommend, and what we teach in this course, is to at first focus upon one aspect of that. Then as you get better at this, you'll be able to focus on multiple aspects, multiple dimensions of your desire, depending on what state you are on the emotional scale, and depending on what your desire is in the moment. Because your desire, whatever it is you think you desire, in any moment could fill any number of desires. For example, you may desire a business, and one aspect of that is the excitement and the interaction with clients. Another aspect of that may be the financial security which you think it would provide. And at different times you wish for different aspects of that. So having ready-made imaginal scenes or self-talk, or what we could call anchors of focus for each of those aspects, will serve you well. But even beyond that, once you mentally rehearse something, you will get to the point of being in the state of that wish fulfilled, which means you won't even need to verbalize it, nor may you be able to verbalize it. You may not be able to verbalize it, but it's just going to be a sense of what it feels like to have that. And for example, one of the techniques that Neville Goddard uses when he said that his teacher Abdullah told him that he was in Barbados, There was a story about, very briefly, and you can find this, you can Google it, but Neville Goddard had a teacher who taught Kabbalah, whose name was Abdullah, from Ethiopia. And basically, Neville, at one point in his life, had the desire to go back to Barbados, from where he had come to America. And he had no money, of course. This was during the Depression. Abdullah told him that he was in Barbados. He said, "You are in Barbados." And of course, Neville thought him to be insane at the time. But one of the techniques that Abdullah taught Neville in order to get this state was to imagine what it would feel like to have the United States at your north. Because if you're in Barbados, you would have the United States at your north. So that's one of the techniques, that's one of the techniques utilizing what we call in this channel context. Because when you shift your context spiritually, then you shift your position in all the other factors. Of course, we'll learn that all these other factors are malleable and they can be changed and manipulated and so forth. That's the whole point of this. So, with all that in mind, you have to have a basis before you can start eliminating the importance of things. And here's another paradox. Vadim Zeland in Reality Transurfing talks about this. He said, the thing that you wish will be easier to pull into manifestation in proportion as it is important or non-important. What do I mean by that? The more importance you give to something, the harder it's going to be to manifest. And of course, law of attraction explains this when we start going down the categories of being into personality and relation and context, that the more importance you give to something, then the more fear or the more resistance you have to not having it, and that automatically brings resistance into the equation and therefore pushes the thing further from you on the outer. Of course, when we go within, you realize that you already have that, and there's no time nor space, because you're going into the field and you're having that and sensing that immediately. But to the extent that you can reduce the importance of all of your manifestations, then you can more easily bring them into your reality, into your experience. So one of the general mental rehearsals that we teach in this course is what I'm going to call the mental rehearsal of complete security. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you were called by a family member and told that you had a trust fund now, and they were going to give you a debit card, and with that debit card you could purchase anything that you needed and anything that you wanted? They might tell you within reason, but basically anything that you want to need. Wouldn't you then feel comfortable and vibrationally freed up to simply allow your imagination to go free, to do whatever it is you truly want to do, not something that you think that you have to do in order to make money, and to be able to take risks because you know that you have a fallback? Well, we know that imagination is reality. We know that theoretically. And the more you practice in this, and the more you start going places in your imagination and in your focus and making them vividly real, the more you will progressively realize this in your life. So what you can do is, you can actually close your eyes. You can do it with your eyes open too, but it helps to start by closing your eyes. You can go into alpha. You can just start feeling the present moment, the sensations of the present moment. And you can imagine in your hands, in your imaginal hand, one of those very thick debit cards that banks usually give to, let's say, high-value clients. And you can imagine the color of that, perhaps it's gray. You can imagine your name on that. And you can feel that, and you can tell yourself, this debit card, I can use this debit card for anything that I need, unlimited. And of course, the first time, or maybe even the first 10 times, you're not going to be totally convinced of that. But you can keep repeating that image and that statement over and over again until you just have that as a belief and as a firmly rooted subconscious belief. And you can do it if you keep practicing this and keep practicing this until it feels natural. So that is the first mental rehearsal that we're going to recommend on this channel. See your debit card. See that you are completely secure and have complete security for all of your needs, even if on the outer it seems like you can't afford next month's rent. Practice yourself. Rehearse your body in that. Dress in that. And very soon as perhaps a few days to maximum a few weeks, you'll have that belief and that assumption deeply rooted into your subconscious. And then you'll see that you'll be able to imagine other things easier and with less resistance, more easily. And you'll find that those things come to you more easily because you have a sense of security. You'll find also that more abundance and money is going to flow into your life simply because of that. But this is what we call preparing the ground for mental rehearsal. It will both practice you in mental rehearsal, bring more abundance into your life now, and free you up to imagine the other desires that we're going to talk about and recommend in this course. So do mental rehearsal. Do this very night before you go to sleep is the best time. And of course, comment how this worked for you. Give us comments and testimonials. And please like and subscribe to my channel if you find our information of value. And this is Javier Novoa from The Real Javier Novoa, and I'll talk to you very soon.